Fluorescent lights hummed as Jenny stepped into the ICU, the smell of antiseptic cutting the air. For a heartbeat she felt time stall and the room tilt. The monitors blinked like distant warning stars beside Mark's still form. Dr. Patel looked up with a face that tried to be gentle and failed. Dr. Patel said, "His vitals are unstable, and we are doing everything we can." Jenny gripped the rail, and her knuckles went white. Jenny said, "Tell me he will wake up." The answer traveled slowly, heavy as rain. Dr. Patel said, "We have to prepare for the next few hours. They are critical." A high alarm chirped and then settled, and the sound left a bruise in the silence. Jenny leaned close to Mark as if closeness could stitch him back. Jenny said, "I am here. I am not leaving." Memory flashed of morning coffee and shared jokes that felt a lifetime away. She steadied her breath. She gathered the shards of hope like glass in her palms and refused to bleed. The clock over the nurse's station ticked with a patience she did not share. Jenny counted breaths and turned them into small prayers that had no words. A memory slipped in like contraband, the two of them laughing over burnt toast. Liam texted, and the screen brightened her palm. Jenny said, "I'm here, just not ready to talk." The truth was heavier than speech. Nurse Carla paused with quiet empathy that asked nothing. Jenny said, "Can I stay past visiting hours?" The question landed like a plea to the universe, not a rule. Nurse Carla said, "We will make space for you." Jenny's shoulders lowered a fraction. The room exhaled with her, and the machines kept their complicated rhythm. She pressed her forehead to her hands and made a vow she did not dare break. Forms appeared like a second illness, pages that asked for answers she did not have. Jenny said, "He hates paperwork," and the joke collapsed in her throat. Dr. Patel outlined options, words like cliffs she had to climb. Dr. Patel said, "We will watch for the next markers." She nodded, as if knowledge could hold back the tide. Nurse Carla adjusted the drip and offered a cup of water she forgot to drink. Jenny said, "Tell me what I can do that matters." The reply was practical and kind. Dr. Patel said, "Be here, rest when you can, and keep him anchored." She took that order like a mission. The monitors agreed in their language of light, and the room steadied by a margin. The rain softened, and with it the noise inside her chest. Jenny rested her forehead against the window, city lights smearing into constellations. A doubt rose like fog, asking whether love was ever enough. Jenny said, "You carry me, and now I carry you." The words steadied her stance. A child's laugh drifted from a distant corridor TV and felt like a message from a kinder world. Liam called and let the silence speak without pressure. Liam said, "I'm outside if you need me." She almost said yes. Instead, she chose the chair by the bed and wrapped a blanket around her knees. The fear remained, but it wore a name she could face. Dawn argued with the fluorescent lights and won by degrees. Jenny watched pale gold edge the blinds and felt a fractional lift. Dr. Patel returned with a measured step. Dr. Patel said, "His numbers show small improvement." The words fell like warm water on stone. Jenny said, "Thank you, keep going," and the plea became a promise to herself. Nurse Carla swapped an IV bag, hands deft and steady. The monitor's rhythm grew less jagged, or maybe she heard it differently now. Jenny leaned closer and chose hope as an action, not a wish. Jenny said, "I will hold this line with you." The room, at last, felt large enough for breathing. Jenny sat in the waiting lounge, a paper cup cooling in her hand. The hum of vending machines mocked her silence. A mother read a bedtime story across the aisle, the child's laughter rubbing salt into wounds. Jenny said, "He always made me laugh louder than anyone." She traced circles on the cup rim as if each loop could hold him here. Liam called again, his name glowing bright on the screen, but her thumb hovered and never touched. Jenny whispered to herself, "I cannot break while he is still fighting." The fluorescent bulbs flickered overhead, a reminder that even light tires. The thought of home pressed against her ribs. Home was no longer a place but the sound of his breathing. She leaned back, letting the chair groan under her weight, and promised herself that tomorrow she would not leave his side. Back inside the ICU, Jenny whispered into Mark's ear, words meant only for him. Jenny said, "You pulled me out of darkness once, now let me keep you in the light." The monitor pulsed steady but fragile. She remembered their first apartment, the cracked ceiling, the leaky faucet, yet how safe it felt when his arms wrapped around her. Nurse Carla entered quietly, placing a hand on Jenny's shoulder. Nurse Carla said, "Your presence matters more than you know." Jenny blinked hard, catching the burn before it spilled. She whispered, "I am nothing without you." The words carried both truth and terror. Mark's hand was limp in hers, yet she chose to believe he could feel her heartbeat through her skin. Dr. Patel returned with test updates, his expression neutral but heavy. Dr. Patel said, "The next 12 hours will guide our decisions." Jenny nodded, though each word struck like ice. She remembered the mornings when Mark brewed coffee before she even rose, his small kindnesses stitched into her life. Jenny said, "If I lose him, I lose my compass." Dr. Patel placed the chart gently on the desk and said, "Hold faith even if it feels fragile." Jenny straightened, refusing to let fear topple her. She thought of the sacrifices they had made together, the debts, the late nights, the endless struggle, and how they had never once let go of each other. That memory became her strength. Jenny stepped outside for a breath of air. The sky still carried the bruises of night, stars fading into reluctant dawn. She leaned against the cold stone wall, inhaling sharp air that stung her chest. Liam approached slowly, holding a thermos. Liam said, "You need strength too." She shook her head, tired smile failing to hide the crack in her voice. Jenny said, "I can't rest while he's inside fighting." Liam placed the thermos in her hand anyway. Jenny remembered how Mark once brought her soup during her flu, joking that his cooking could cure anything. She clutched the thermos, as if it were his hand, grounding herself in that small warmth. Jenny returned to Mark's side, the thermos untouched, but the warmth lingering in her palm. She leaned close to him, whispering through the hiss of oxygen. Jenny said, "You once told me we could survive anything if we stayed together." She brushed his hair gently, tucking strands back. The monitor's beep softened in her ears, until it became rhythm instead of threat. Nurse Carla adjusted the curtain, offering privacy. Jenny said, "I will not give you permission to leave me." Her chest ached with every word, but her spine stayed straight. She let her tears slip this time, not as surrender but as testimony. Each drop carried defiance, a vow sealed in salt. Bills piled like cliffs Jenny could not climb. The hospital clerk slid another envelope across the counter, her eyes apologetic but unyielding. Jenny said, "We already gave everything we have." The clerk's silence was answer enough. She thought of Mark's words once, "We'll manage as long as we have each other," but the paper in her hand mocked that promise. Outside, the rain hadn't stopped, painting the windows with streaks of defeat. Liam arrived, jaw set, asking, "What did they say?" Jenny pressed the envelope against her chest like armor. Jenny said, "They want more, and I have nothing left to give." Fear mixed with shame, a cocktail burning through her veins. Back in the ICU, Jenny slumped by Mark's bed. The machines hummed an endless chorus of fragility. Jenny whispered, "I can't lose you, not when I finally learned how to live." Mark's eyelids fluttered faintly, or maybe it was her desperate imagination. Nurse Carla adjusted the drip and spoke softly, "You have to take care of yourself too." Jenny shook her head, refusing even water. Jenny said, "Every breath he takes is my heartbeat now." The room smelled of antiseptic and fear. The fluorescent light flickered as if echoing her instability. She pressed her forehead to his hand, begging silently for a miracle. Later that evening, Liam confronted Jenny near the vending machine. Liam said, "You can't keep breaking yourself like this." Jenny's eyes flared with stubborn fire. Jenny said, "He's my reason, my anchor. Don't ask me to step away." Liam's frustration cracked into worry. Liam said, "If you collapse, who will be here for him?" The hum of the machine filled the silence between their words. Jenny turned away, the soda can unopened in her palm. She whispered, "My body can break, but my love won't." Tears slipped, hot and uninvited, as Liam clenched his fists at helplessness. Dr. Patel reviewed the charts, his expression unreadable, until Jenny asked, "What aren't you telling me?" He hesitated, then said, "His lungs are struggling more than before." Jenny's knees weakened, but she steadied herself on the rail. Jenny said, "Tell me what I can fight." Dr. Patel's voice softened, "We're adjusting treatment, but the path will be hard." The weight of uncertainty pressed like a storm cloud. Jenny glanced at Mark, her hope cracking, but not collapsing. Jenny said, "Then we fight harder." The decision settled in her chest like iron, unshakable, despite the fear. As night deepened, Jenny whispered prayers she wasn't sure she believed in. The monitors answered in beeps and flickers, fragile affirmations. She remembered the night Mark held her while storms rattled their first apartment. Jenny said, "You told me the roof could fall, and I'd still be safe with you." She tucked the blanket higher over his chest. Liam lingered at the doorway, silent witness. Jenny said, "This time I'll be the shelter, no matter how long it takes." The words steadied her heart, even as exhaustion pulled at her eyelids. For now, she chose to hold the vigil. Jenny sat with Dr. Patel in the consultation room, a folder heavy between them. Dr. Patel hesitated, his voice low. Dr. Patel said, "There is something I must disclose." Jenny's chest tightened as if braced for impact. He explained that Mark's condition was worsened by a delayed diagnosis, a mistake buried in paperwork weeks ago. Jenny's nails dug into her palm as she whispered, "You knew earlier." Dr. Patel shook his head, regret tightening his jaw. Dr. Patel said, "It was overlooked, and I carry that weight." Jenny felt betrayal slam through her ribs. She pressed her eyes shut, unwilling to cry in front of him. Jenny said, "You were supposed to protect him." Jenny stumbled into the corridor, her breath jagged. Liam rushed to her side. Liam said, "What happened?" She shook her head, words stuck like stones. Finally, she said, "They failed him, and now it may be too late." Liam's jaw tightened, fists curling with fury. Liam said, "You can't carry this alone, let me fight with you." Jenny's voice cracked as she snapped, "This is my battle, my love, my loss if it comes." Silence grew heavy, broken only by distant monitor beeps. Jenny leaned against the wall, trembling, her world cracking under the weight of betrayal and fear. Jenny returned to Mark's bedside, her anger buried beneath trembling resolve. She held his hand tighter than before. Jenny whispered, "They should have seen this, but I will not let their failure end you." She brushed his hair, lips quivering. Nurse Carla entered softly, her face heavy with compassion. Nurse Carla said, "I am so sorry, Jenny. None of us wanted this." Jenny's eyes flashed, but her words carried exhaustion instead of rage. Jenny said, "Sorry does not bring him back to me." The room fell into silence, only machines filling the void. Jenny bent closer to Mark and whispered, "Stay even if the world falters." Liam found Jenny in the hospital chapel, a space quiet but heavy with grief. Candles flickered in stained glass shadows. Jenny said, "I trusted them, and now I feel like I failed him too." Liam lowered beside her, voice firm. Liam said, "This isn't your fault, Jenny. You've carried him with more love than anyone could." Jenny stared at the crucifix, her lips tight, tears silent. She whispered, "I just want him back, no matter what it costs me." Liam placed a hand on hers, grounding her before she shattered entirely. The air smelled faintly of wax and rain-soaked stone, weight pressing down. Back in the ICU, Jenny faced Dr. Patel again, her voice steady though her hands shook. Jenny said, "You may have failed him, but I will not." Dr. Patel lowered his gaze, shame plain. Jenny leaned close to Mark and whispered, "I will be louder than their silence, stronger than their mistakes." The monitor flickered, as though echoing her vow. Nurse Carla adjusted the lines quietly, glancing at Jenny with respect. Jenny sat taller, her resolve sharpening. Jenny said, "He's more than a chart, more than your oversight." The room thrummed with her defiance, fragile yet fierce. The night deepened as Jenny's exhaustion turned to steel. She stood beside Mark, whispering fiercely. Jenny said, "I refuse to lose you to their mistakes or to this sickness." The monitor beeped erratically, pulling her tighter to his side. Dr. Patel entered, explaining urgent steps they had to attempt. Jenny's eyes locked with his, unflinching. Jenny said, "Do whatever it takes, I will not let him go without a war." Dr. Patel nodded gravely. Liam hovered at the door, silent support radiating from his clenched jaw. Jenny held Mark's hand as though she could pull him back by sheer will, her love burning into the air like fire. The machines spiked, alarms shrieking. Nurses rushed in, Carla among them, moving with calm urgency. Jenny's breath faltered, but she didn't move from Mark's side. Nurse Carla said, "We need space to work." Jenny shook her head. Jenny said, "I won't let go, not now." Dr. Patel barked instructions, while a nurse adjusted ventilator tubes. Jenny leaned closer, whispering, "Fight with me, Mark. Just one more breath." Sweat ran down her temple as if she were battling with him. The chaos swirled, but she refused to surrender her grip. Her determination rose above the panic, louder than the alarms. Jenny's knees buckled, but she clung to the rail, refusing to fall. Liam pulled her upright, his voice low. Liam said, "You're killing yourself." Jenny shook him off, eyes blazing. Jenny said, "If he leaves, I leave too." The raw truth snapped between them, cutting like glass. Liam's eyes softened, helpless anger giving way to tears. Liam said, "Don't make me watch you break." Jenny turned back to Mark, hand firm on his chest, as if to anchor his heartbeat. Jenny whispered, "I choose you, always, even against death." The room felt like it was trembling with the weight of her vow. Dr. Patel announced the critical step. "Died." Dr. Patel said, "If this does not work, we may lose him tonight." Jenny's pulse thundered, but she steadied her voice. Jenny said, "Then we make it work." Nurses moved with precision, preparing medication. Jenny pressed her forehead to Mark's, whispering, "You once told me we could outlast storms. This is the storm, and I will not let it win." The machines beeped erratically, but she listened past them, hunting for the sound of his soul refusing to yield. She kissed his hand, sealing her vow. The room carried both terror and unshakable love. The injection entered Mark's vein, seconds stretching like lifetimes. Jenny's breath held, chest aching with suspended hope. She whispered, "Come back to me, please." The monitor dipped low, then steadied, then dipped again. The silence in her chest felt like falling. Suddenly, the rhythm began to climb, fragile but rising. Nurse Carla whispered, "It's working." Jenny's tears spilled freely, not yet victory, but a foothold of hope. She pressed her cheek to Mark's hand, sobbing. Jenny said, "I'll never stop fighting for you." The room, heavy with fear, now trembled with possibility, fragile and raw. The ICU quieted, alarms finally still. Jenny sat slumped but unyielding, her hand still locked with Mark's. Dr. Patel approached cautiously, his voice softer now. Dr. Patel said, "He is stable for the moment." Jenny closed her eyes, relief flooding but edged with caution. Jenny said, "Stable is enough. I'll take stable." Liam leaned on the doorway, exhausted but relieved, whispering, "You kept him here." Jenny turned her gaze to Mark, whispering into the stillness. Jenny said, "Don't let go, because I am not letting go." Hope flickered faintly, fragile but real, like dawn trying to seep through storm clouds. Morning broke fully, painting the walls with pale gold. Jenny stared at the blinds, letting light fall across her face. She whispered, "We survived the night." Nurse Carla entered, setting a fresh IV with careful precision. Nurse Carla said, "You should rest now, even for a little while." Jenny shook her head, stubborn smile faint. Jenny said, "Not until he opens his eyes." Liam approached with coffee, his voice hushed. Liam said, He would want you to breathe too. Jenny took the cup reluctantly, holding warmth against her palms. She let herself feel the tiniest ember of hope spark alive. Jenny spoke to Mark as though words could tether his spirit. Jenny said, "You once said love is proof against the dark. I believe that now more than ever." She brushed hair from his forehead, her hand trembling. Dr. Patel returned briefly, his tone softer. Dr. Patel said his body is responding better than expected. Jenny's heart surged, but she kept her tone measured. Jenny said, "Then we'll keep walking this road, one step at a time." She leaned close, her forehead brushing his, whispering, "You're not done, and neither am I." The moment lingered heavy with fragile hope. Later, Jenny wandered into the hospital garden for a breath of fresh air. She sat on a cold bench, staring at trembling leaves. Liam joined her quietly, setting a hand on her shoulder. Liam said, "You don't always have to be the strong one." Jenny looked at him, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. Jenny said, "But if I stop, who will carry him?" Liam's voice softened, breaking. Liam said, "We'll carry him together." For the first time, she allowed herself to lean against him, her strength folding just enough to breathe. The sun caught in the branches above, fragile but persistent. Jenny returned to Mark's side, her heart steadier after the quiet outside. She stroked his hand gently, her words hushed. Jenny said, "You don't have to fight alone anymore. I'll carry the weight with you." Nurse Carla adjusted equipment silently, her eyes glistening with quiet admiration. Dr. Patel passed the doorway, his gaze heavy but hopeful. Jenny bent low, whispering into Mark's ear. Jenny said, "We are not broken, just bent, and I will stay until you rise." The room felt different now, not just a place of fear, but a fragile sanctuary where healing had begun. The room was hushed, filled only with the soft beep of monitors and the sigh of machines. Jenny sat upright, exhaustion draped over her like armor, but her hand never left Mark's. Liam stepped closer, setting a blanket over her shoulders. Liam said, "You've been here every breath, Jenny." She nodded faintly, her eyes never leaving Mark's face. Jenny whispered, "Because he is my breath." The stillness of the morning painted the room with fragile hope, and for the first time, Jenny felt the sharp edge of fear dull into quiet endurance. Dr. Patel entered quietly, chart in hand, his face lighter than before. Dr. Patel said, "There is progress, slow but steady." Jenny blinked, unsure if she had heard right. Jenny said, "He's still fighting." Dr. Patel gave a firm nod. Liam let out a sharp breath, whispering, "Finally." Jenny bent closer to Mark, her voice trembling but stronger now. Jenny said, "You hear that? You're winning." Relief came in waves, not a cure, not an ending, but a bridge back from despair. Jenny pressed her forehead to his hand, clinging to the fragile truth she had prayed for all along. Jenny stepped out into the corridor for the first time without dread pressing her chest. She leaned against the wall, sliding down to sit on the floor, tears spilling free. Liam sat beside her, silent but steady. Liam said, "He's turning a corner, Jenny." She nodded, unable to speak, her throat locked with gratitude. Jenny whispered finally, "I thought I had already lost him." Liam placed his arm around her shoulder, anchoring her. The corridor smelled faintly of antiseptic, but to her, it smelled of mercy. For once she let her tears fall without resistance, each one a prayer of thanks. Back in the room, Jenny sat quietly, tracing circles on Mark's palm as though guiding him home. Jenny whispered, even in silence, "I hear you. Even in stillness I feel you." The monitors hummed softly, no longer weapons of fear, but guardians of fragile life. Nurse Carla adjusted equipment gently, offering Jenny a nod of reassurance. Jenny said, "We are not finished, and I will stay until you open your eyes." The room glowed with fragile calm, heavy with the memory of battles fought, yet lighter now with the possibility of tomorrow. As the day settled into quiet, Jenny leaned close to Mark, her lips brushing his ear. Jenny whispered, "For you, I would do it all again." Her tears fell softly, no longer desperate but resolute, a vow sealed in salt and love. Liam stood silently at the door, bearing witness. Dr. Patel paused in the hallway, glancing in with a softened gaze. Jenny kissed Mark's hand, her voice a prayer and a promise. Jenny said, "We will rise from this even if scarred." The room hushed, holding her words like sacred truth, leaving a silence heavy with love and endurance.